the Album Concept Hour. The Album Concept Hour. It's the Album Concept Hour. Welcome, everybody, to the Album Concept Hour. We are here once again for another, this one's a big, heavy, hidden concept album that, frankly, I'm surprised we haven't done yet. I'm really excited to jump into it. We're doing Daft Punk's Discovery from 2001. I'm your host, Brad LeBaron. We got John over there. What's going on, John?
Oh, I was just chilling.
And then Dave's going to be here in a minute, but he's with us in spirit. And then we have a very special guest, a returning guest to the podcast.
I always love returning guests.
Have you been on once or twice? I can't remember. Were you on for something else?
Just once, yeah.
Okay. Well, we have Derick McDuff from the Undercast podcast company in general. You have several podcasts, right?
Yes. So underrated.
List them out for us.
yeah. So
okay, we're underrated too.
I feel you.
Yeah. Underrated is the flagship name of or the flagship podcast that I do. So just look up Underrated Movie Podcast and it'll come up. And you've actually will be on that podcast, I guess, which we'll get to in a sec.
Yes.
But
in the future.
But
yes, this is a time traveling show.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a podcast where I talk about underrated movies, obviously, underappreciated movies, ones that have slipped under the radar. I also do a podcast. That's every other Monday so the Mondays when that doesn't come out, I co-host a podcast called Midnight Film Society, where I talk about just kind of what's been coming out recently, Furiosa or Planet of the Apes, whatever it might be, or just kind of a movie news, movie reviews type podcast in general.
Yeah, more current movie events.
Mm-hmm. And then I also have a Marvel podcast that is released sporadically whenever there's a new MCU thing called Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones. So getting ready,
that's right.
Deadpool and Wolverine 3 coming out soon.
Oh, so excited!
I was gonna say you must not have had much content for that one
month now,
in the last year, right? It's been scarce.
Exactly. It's been just tumbleweeds over there on that one. So, but I've been busy with the other podcasts, so I don't mind so much. And then I have a Patreon where I do, some bonus stuff. Do a sports movie podcast, so that's about it.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the small list of podcasts that you cover. That's really cool. You have so many different genres and things that you're covering. That must mean are you just watching movies sun up to sundown? Is that what your life is like?
Pretty much watching movies and then writing about movies and then going on podcasts about movies. That's about all I do now.
Nice. I love it.
Way to live.
Yeah. If our thing wasn't so deeply rooted in music, I'd have my own movie thing. But we do have music movies tonight.
We have our own movie thing.
We haven't done like enough of them for it to feel like a regular thing yet. So watch our music movies tonight's episodes, guys, so you can inspire me to get back into editing shit. I did listen to your episode, your underrated episode of what's it called? The one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Stifler, Southland Tales. Yeah. I really enjoyed that conversation. I've never seen the movie, but your conversation was it sounds like an insane situation for a movie. We've actually had someone on the podcast, Siobhan, or Shevin. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that guest's name, but they have a podcast that is all about Southland Tales. So I almost want to connect you guys, so you can have a revisiting from someone that's breaking it down minute by minute.
Oh man, that's one of the most insane minute by minute, and that's a long movie too. So that podcast will go for a while.
Well, yeah, because I was like, how do you have a whole podcast just about Southland Tales? But like, you find something to. I guess we can find something to talk about every week. More power to you.
Well, if he needs a guest for that Killers minute, maybe I can be on that one.
Yeah. We'll let you know if she needs anyone to come guesting.
Yeah.
So the reason we're here doing Discovery today is because I was just on your podcast in the distant future, and we broke down Interstella 5555, or 4 5s if you want to get technical, which is a brilliant anime movie that just has the whole album start to finish. John just watched it.
So good.
Yeah. I made the co-hosts do the homework.
Digimon, Sailor Moon, Transformers, and
if you're an anime fan, or old school anime
it's
too,
Toei.
Right?
Yeah, Toei Animation. They do everything. But yeah, we talked about that almost track by track like this one, just because it's formed that way. But near the end of it, I was like, you know what? We really need to do a deep dive on Discovery, just the music side of it,
Right.
We decided right then and there we'd do some kind of, double feature podcast, if you will. So, this one will be coming out, in beginning of June, and then his is going to be coming out at the beginning of July. So, keep an eye out for that at Underrated Podcast. That's the one it's on, right?
Underrated movie podcast is
It's gonna be the name of our network someday.
Well, that's the name of their network, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's they got that
that's
covered.
Great.
Yeah. They got that covered.
That's a great. I was just thinking that's a great name. I did not know that. I did not catch on to that.
Flyover State Park is kind of about being underrated in a sense.
It is.
There's a kinship here.
Yeah. We both understand our respective mediocrity. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So this album, to set the stage a little bit, we have Daft Punk coming into the EDM scene from France. Homework came out in I think it was, I want to say 96, and it had Around the World, which was a mega hit, and it used samples over house drum patterns like you would hear in an EDM album, or house. I'm not sure where EDM starts and house begins or whatever.
Right.
So it was kind of your standard, house or EDM fare, and then at some point in the preparation for recording this album, the two guys unwittingly they had a sampler that like exploded or something and caused them to be reconstructed into robots. And then this album Discovery then kind of becomes their rediscovering
discovery of
the music,
of their new selves, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. It's like
I never knew the backstory of them becoming robots. That's interesting.
Did we not get to that in your podcast? I had it written down.
I don't think we did. No,
I didn't. I think I didn't bring it up then. Okay, but they had an experiment. It was I think 9 p.m. 9:09 and 9 seconds or something. Nines are a big part of the time that it happened.
Okay.
So then we get to Discovery. It came out in 2001, and they're robots now, of course, and they're trying to, I guess, rediscover their humanity, or that rekindle some of that childlike spirit that maybe lost to them or something. We get into this whole new era of sampling of funk, disco, of their childhood, and just reevaluating how they make music and creating this like masterpiece of an album. So I've talked about how awesome the album is for long enough, though. We can get into the first track, the album proper. I don't know if we talked about it on your podcast, but what was your background with Daft Punk, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we got into it too much because, they are a very, very important band to me. Just like, the band we talked about last time, The Killers, I think they're right up there in terms of, being one of my top 5, maybe even top 2 bands of all time. Like, they're absolutely phenomenal. When I started to kind of come into my own. And when you're like a teenager and your personality starts to really develop is when I started to really get into them and discovered a lot of their stuff, and particularly this album Discovery, because their earlier stuff is like, it's like good house music, or EDM music, but this is feel like I listened to this and I was like, this is like something I've never experienced or heard before, and just felt so revolutionary and amazing. And obviously, like, I knew Around the World and stuff like that, and the more popular, or like One More Time, and like their more popular things. And then around, I did mention this, I think, on my podcast, but I watched I would just like watch the music videos for these, and then kind of realized that there was an overarching story, and then like watched the whole thing back to back, and I was like, wow, this is absolutely phenomenal. So a band that means a lot to me, and an album that means quite a bit to me. Honestly, one of my all-time favorite albums. And like I was saying before we recorded, I was like, I'm kind of surprised that like you guys haven't gotten to this one yet, because. And I'm feel lucky because I'm like, cool, I get to go talk about this one. Like, so this is a big one.
Yeah. Well, and also I don't know if I knew that there was a concept behind this album, besides Interstella 5555. But when I was doing research for it, there was, I forget, maybe it was the Wikipedia that told me, but it was, something mentioned like, oh yeah, this is kind of an overarching, like, we are trying to rekindle our childhood and capture our, I'm inferring that they're also trying to capture their humanity and grapple with the fact that they're robots. That's kind of my take on it, seeing as the robot incident happened right before this album came out, you know what I mean?
Right.
But let's get into One More Time, though. This first track we have is, they start out with a fucking banger. Like, this is one of the best first tracks. Right off the bat.
This is what you play and do this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, just keep on bouncing.
Hands in the air like you just don't care.
Oh yeah, here is One More Time. One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time.
Well, you just picked the banger of the banger, huh?
I mean, there's not a bad spot in that song to pick too.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Unless I just picked the gongs, that would be kind of weird. That'd be a strange choice. It starts off so happy and almost in a like celebration of music in general,
It took some haze,
Yeah, man. It's a really beautiful way to start everything out. Only uses one sample in this one. That's one thing that we'll get to a little bit going, song by song, is how many samples they're using in a particular song, Did you look much into the sampling of this, Derek?
I had seen some stuff like back in the day, like, and I know there's that, like, somebody put together like an album that is supposedly a bunch of the tracks called like Discovered or something like that. And then I know you had sent me that video that I watched that had a lot of the samples. And I'm somebody who, I love music and like watch a lot of music, and it's something I won't pick up on right away, but until I see something like that where it's like, oh, cool, like I hear it now,
Yeah. That's and that's something that I wasn't always someone that cared, about samples, as far as like listening to the actual ones, but like now, having done a couple episodes with like heavy sampling, and that's like the biggest, like we did the Beastie Boys,
Paul's Boutique.
Yeah. We did Paul's Boutique album recently, which like I kind of got lost in doing the research for it because there was so many samples to check out, like I just couldn't get to all of them.
Well, I mean, just look at like the Fugees too, like, or Lauryn Hill.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Both of those albums are just so like sample heavy. Like, from everywhere.
Well, and we've dabbled in, talking about the samples and stuff, but this time, like, one thing different that I did is I tried to look at the lyrics of the samples and the themes in the songs with the samples to see if I could glean more information, what everything's about. And I will say, just as a result of that, generally it's a lot of love songs, varying degrees of love songs, in the sampling. This one includes a sample from Eddie Johns. The song is "More Spell on You," and you hear it like kind of right near the beginning of the song. You hear the bit that's in this. Generally this one doesn't. The lyrics for this one don't really, I think, feed into the overall theme of the album necessarily. It was a fun little deep dive, and I'm glad that I have I'm developing an appreciation for samples more so, and we'll just like taking the time to listen to them,
Right, and they're not exactly samples, but one thing I always appreciate on a related note is like I play a lot of video games, and one thing that I started to pick up on a lot was like recurring motifs in games like Zelda. Like if you go out and like Ocarina of Time, and you go like Hyrule Field has bits like musical motifs from like every Zelda game released to that point or something like that. And it's like you can like, some of them are more obvious and some of them are more subtle. So I always love when music pays like references itself or like what's come before, and
pays homage to itself.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that is like kind of one of the other, big concepts of this album is like one of the, I guess, stipulations for the sampling of this album was they had to fall between 1975 and 1985. So all of the samples in here are in that decade in particular, because that's when they were kids and that's when they were growing up. So, a lot of these are songs that they were probably just really into when they were kids, and then brought them into the new age of house and EDM music.
Okay, that's very cool.
I mean, this whole thing is just a grand representation of that. Even the movie itself.
That's true. The movie is kind of set, like a retro future.
One of their like favorite artists, and it was Toei, stuff like that.
Yeah. Keiji Matsumoto, I think. I want to say.
Yeah. Liji, I think, or Liji. I don't know. I'm not very good at Japanese, but
yeah. Listen to the underrated episode, and we pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
He did a lot of really important 80s anime. Actually, hold on, I got my notes right here. Probably just flip. But yeah, he has done Galaxy Express 999 and Captain Harlock, to name a few. And they were really, really big fans of Captain Harlock, which is why they reached out to him to do Interstella 5555. So just such a cool idea overall to like make such an interesting album, and then on top of that, make a movie that is a separate artistic endeavor entirely.
Right. And it feels like something that like so many like companies and stuff are trying to do now, where they're like, oh, we've got to like have synergy, and we'll have this movie, and we'll have the album tie into it, and we'll have the TV show, and it'll all be connected, and it's
the
like
toy
all
line,
right? And everything,
gotta make toys,
right? And it all feels like
make the money,
right? It all feels like it's all like very corporate, and these guys just did it in a way that was so organic and cool. In a way, like 15 years before anybody was trying to do all the, like, I don't know if you saw like there was like an announcement recently with like Friday the 13th. They're like, we're gonna have all these activations for Friday the 13th and video game. I'm just like, Jason just needs to kill people, like whatever. Like, but like this feels like something that it's not corporate or anything. It's just like, oh, there is all this like synergy because it's all the stuff that like these guys cared about. Like you said, as kids, it's like, oh yeah, we watch these anime movies, and we listen to these songs, and we're gonna like throw them all together in a way that like doesn't necessarily make sense if you like try to piece it out together logically, but it works. It still like works emotionally, and you just like vibe with it. Like this is a real vibes kind of thing.
Yeah. It all feels very very thought out, and like what's the word I'm looking for? Considered. It is, it is them bearing their soul to the world, which is, some of the best art,
And like a great concept album, a single track is good, but when you actually from start to finish listen from like track 1 to like the final track, like when they weave like a nice flow, like the enjoyment level for me is always like through the roof. Was like, this is great. Like it just has that flow that just makes like everything kind of pieced together and makes sense. And this track on throwback, and you get a really cool vibe that happens.
Yeah, just naturally you soak up like the good feelings from the samples, and they're giving such credit to the samples by making them feel a similar but different and completely new.
Yeah, and it's like in the same vein of with film, how film will constantly reference other things, and if you're familiar with like those older movies, you can like for example, Black Swan. It's a great movie. I saw that movie when it came out 2011, and I appreciated it on one level. And then going back and over the years, I've seen Perfect Blue and The Red Shoes and all these movies that really inspired Darren Aronofsky. And it's like, okay, now I get this movie even more. And Daft Punk is doing the same thing musically, and then once again also with the movie too.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of really goodwill in this album, and there's not a lot of people that dislike Daft Punk for anything they've done. You know what I mean? They're one of those groups that is able to bring in everyone. Yeah.
Everybody samples Daft Punk.
Yeah. I was gonna say the list of samples of Daft Punk is way, way longer, though. But yeah, before we move on, I just want to mention we have Romanthony singing in this first track. It was an artist from the States that Daft Punk was really into, and used their leverage from their being on a major label to get him in. Such a great job. He's in the first track and the last track. So probably one of the most iconic voices of the entire album, I mean, lyrically, again, the lyrics kind of speak for themselves. I think it's just a vibe. It's just about loving music,
the whole album,
getting down, and in a very, simple, pure way. And then we have Aerodynamic, which is the second track. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was dance music. What is this? Like, why is this guitar solo in the middle of this dance song?
They are really just shredding on that. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah. And you can hear, like, it is very, like okay, it's front and center in the mix, and you can hear every little pick, like movement of his finger and pick and stuff.
It reminds me of like something like out of a Van Halen song, because like it'd be playing, all of a sudden like just stops and Eddie just like rips.
Yeah.
And then they just go right back into it.
Yeah, like an eruption.
Like that solo kind of like pops in like any sort of like classic rock.
Well, I think a lot of people say like Thunderstruck is one of the big influences for this guitar lick. And obviously Van Halen, because with the tapping and everything. But yeah, you hear everything. It's mixed so well, and you can even hear what you might consider mistakes. Little parts where it's not hitting the note perfectly, but that's also helps make it feel,
gives it character.
Yeah. You want a little bit of that. It can't be too perfect.
Exactly. And I will say it's something that it's in this track, but it's in like all the rest of the tracks, is like, after listening to this one right after one more time, they're different, like they do feel of a piece, right? They are part of this bigger concept, but I really like that Daft Punk with this album was like, we're going to do all these different things, all these different influences that they had. And while they all are very Daft Punky, they all feel like they're trying their own thing. Like this track is going to do something completely different. and there's going to be tracks later that are more like classical inspired, and this is more like you were saying, like that Eddie Van Halen thing, and they're just going, and like whereas like Homework, like I said, it's very good, but it's more homogenous, it's like more like, okay, this is all kind of just like house stuff, but where this is like really going out there in some weird ways while not feeling like you never get whiplash because like, well, this song is, what am I doing now? You're like, okay, cool, this is doing something different, but it's still in line with the overall tone of the whole album.
That's what I like about, in general, like the way that they stretch these songs and have like ebbs and flows. Like you really don't get too sick of what's happening, especially if you're like really listening. There's just so much going on that there's always some little thing to listen to. Like even if it's like a little repetitive, there's like some parts where like it's just like I don't know, flows,
absolutely.
And this one has a sample from Il Makilage Lady by Sister Sledge is the group. Song is Il Makilage Lady, and it's from 1982.
Okay.
It's this one again. So one thing that I picked up from
Sister Sledge.
What?
Love me a little Sister Sledge.
Oh, so you have heard of that? Okay, yeah.
They're like late 70s,
like
little funk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I just discovered so much music from listening to the playlist of samples. Like, there's like, that's what I would recommend. I'm gonna put a link in the description, of course, but like that's what I'd really recommend if you want to appreciate this album on a much deeper level.
Is there like a Spotify playlist or something of these?
Yeah, there are a couple.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, there's a couple playlists, but there is a little bit of like there's different opinions on whether or not certain songs are actually sampled. Like Daft Punk, for instance, will say that some of the samples that are attributed to these songs are actually just them really capturing that in the recording of their own instruments, but I think once we get to Face is really where it cracks wide open, because there's like 18 samples that have been thoroughly
we're here
documented.
To appreciate music, so we're not policing nobody.
But one thing that a YouTuber said, did I write down the YouTuber's name? I hate not giving credit, but this YouTuber was talking about how the album is very, sample wise, very interesting, because it starts off with just one sample for the first several tracks, and then eventually they get to a couple songs with like 2 or 3 samples, and then finally track 13, Face to Face, has a total of 18 by some counts. So they kind of like sample wise and like snowball. Talent wise, the production just gets more and more complicated and interesting as the album goes on too. So yeah, it is like Discovery. You're slowly discovering all the different things that you can do with these sounds. That's what I feel about with the guitar. I feel like the guitar, like just going, is one of those things that kind of captures that like feeling of first learning how to tap on the guitar. You're just going at it and having fun and making noise.
How fast you can go.
And
it'd
then
be one of those songs that's really tough to play on Rock Band,
Oh yeah,
lots
right.
Of clicking.
Right. This would be the track for Rock Band.
Right.
This would be
the expert track.
Yeah. Oh man, I forget if that actually was in Rock Band.
I think at least one Daft Punk song would probably have to be on there.
Gotta be. I mean, it probably Harder, Better, Fast. Well, wait. Though there was never mind. There was a mix game where you could play as Daft Punk. I think where it was like,
they had
Rock
their
Band,
own
but there
Rock
was
Band,
DJ stuff.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
There was like a DJ, because like they
DJ
had the
Hero?
DJ Hero, because it was like the Guitar Hero people, I think, because they split off from Rock Band or something like that.
Yeah, and you could play as Daft Punk. So I'm sure a lot of their tracks were in the DJ Hero.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Aerodynamic though should definitely be in one of those. Yeah. If I could go back in time retroactively and change stuff. But this next track we got for you is a little track called Digital Love.
Your arms around you, but suddenly I feel the shining sun. Before I knew it, this dream was all gone.
These are my favorite tracks by Daft Punk.
Oh yeah. Digital Love is definitely up there. Like when they're actually like singing about love, it's like, you know, their own new lyrics or whatever. It's always good. Always
jumpy.
Good.
It's very poppy. It really fits the movie well too. This is the scene where like the guy in the guitar ships.
Oh yeah, this is one of the best music video sections. Yeah.
Agreed.
And it's the first time you kind of catch your breath in the movie too, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. Because the first two tracks you have they're playing on their home planet, and then they get raided and sleep bombed and stuff and kidnapped. But yeah, then this guy wakes up, or wait, no, he doesn't wake up. He's not dreaming at first. He sits down, he lays down to relax after cleaning up the outside of the ship, and then he goes into this dream.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fun. He goes into the poster of the girl from the band, and they have like just, you know, beautiful romantic, like, I don't know. And it's called back to later in the movie. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love the idea of this song with the lyrics and how it's like kind of like first love type stuff, you know, trying to understand what this feeling is deep inside, you know. These robots, of course, have never experienced love before, so it's maybe a novel idea.
Poor droids.
Poor droids. Yeah.
And this was the one for me where, you know, like obviously I'd heard One More Time and Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger a million times. But then when I started really, you know, just being out in the world, like everybody knows those songs. Those are like huge, colossal songs.
Yeah.
But and then once I started to get into Daft Punk and started to like listen to them and listen to this album and then watch the movie, I was like, this song is like a banger. Like this song is so good. Yeah. And I wasn't, it was a single, I think, and it was like popular, but it didn't reach the like levels those other two did. And so with it being like, you know, in the beginning of the album, like kind of next to those songs with Aerodynamic in there too, I was like, wow, I missed the boat on this one. And this is when I started being like, I'm going to really do a deep dive. And like, you know, obviously it's just like, you know, the tip of the glacier. Like, it's not like, you know, this isn't a deep dive by any means with Daft Punk, but it was like my first step into really getting to Daft Punk, I think, was this song, beyond just the stuff that, you know, everybody, like your mom knows, you know?
Yeah. Like it is one of those bands where like, you really can be a pretty big fan of theirs and just pay attention to the singles, because there are, you know, they are all over our culture and they're part of the zeitgeist and everything. But they definitely reward you for digging deeper. And yeah, this song, because this is like, you know, this is something maybe more reminiscent of Random Access Memories, you know? Like just a stone cold funk disco classic, you know, outside of the context of electronic music. It stands on its own.
Yeah. Which makes sense, because like other than Discover, I think Random Access Memories is my favorite Daft Punk album. You know, that one's also an all-timer album for me. Well, yeah,
I think that like critically, it is like considered, you know, the best. I think according to the critics, but I don't know. I have to really dive into that one more again now that I've done a deep dive on this one, because it is kind of the spiritual sequel to this sound. You know what I mean?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. I forget which one comes after. Oh yeah, Human After All. Human After All kind of gets back to just a lot of robot stuff.
Right, yeah. That one's like more in line with homework, I feel like. Yeah, exactly.
What a great song to get back into the robot stuff.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I was going to say. Yeah, because that's the title track from that one. But before I was just going to say this one's got a track from 1979. The track is I Love You More by George Duke. And really, really good track. I recommend, again, I'll put a link in the description for all this. But then we get on to what everybody and their mom knows. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
at that, but don't kill me. You know, make
yeah.
Right.
I need you to hurry up now.
I can't wait much longer. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's a good thing that Kanye West stopped making music after he made that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really good that he like just kind of stepped out of the limelight and stopped talking to anyone.
Never said anything again, and then he died.
Never said anything, and then he passed. It was really sad.
Yeah.
It was really sad,
It was
but
a bummer.
Real bummer.
Who knows what he would have been up to if he had survived? But I guess we don't have to worry.
Even
about
a high
that.
note.
No way to know. There's just no way to know. But,
you guys only just talk about canceled musicians. I feel like on the show whenever you go into tangents.
Well, I was gonna say like that's like one thing. Like we like recorded our Kanye episode like a week or two before he started saying weird Nazi stuff. Like we were like, all right, we got it in under the wire. Right. We can be done talking about him at length. But yeah, it was we definitely have a list of semi. They're not banned episodes. They're episodes that like we just didn't know the full story when we were talking about them.
Oh God! You know? Iced Earth.
Yeah. They're at the Capitol. You know.
Oh no!
We did that like 2 weeks. We were like, oh, no, that was like 6 months.
Well, yeah, no, Iced Earth we did quite a bit before the cancelable behavior occurred.
It wasn't the full band. It wasn't just like one member.
It was one dude.
Yeah,
it was one member of the
band. He's been
been booted.
Well, he's been on the crazy set for a long time. Like, I mean, a good solid 10, 15 years plus. Like, he's always had like these little thoughts.
Yeah.
And slowly, like, release them into the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, man. That's a part of the podcast, you know.
Yeah.
Part of the world, dude.
Yeah.
But
before we go too far,
do you guys? Oh yeah, what's up?
Do you remember? There's a super old YouTube video. Someone did this song, both
Daft
like with their fingers.
I was gonna bring it up. I was gonna bring it up. You guys didn't. That was.
I was about to say we're all the right age.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Daft
We're all
Hands,
the mid-millennials.
You know?
Just like
I actually never saw this video.
Oh, well, we'll show you after the the podcast.
It's
3 and 4 millennial type people have seen this movie.
So it's an early YouTube video, and it's just two hands that have all the different words in the song, and they're just opening their hands and
then just like making between like different like combining words so it make it's pretty wild.
It was one of the first viral like YouTube things.
Right. I remember watching I can't make my hands work that fast normally doing just normal things.
Oh yeah, never.
Yeah, it gets wild. And it was like you said, it's like one of those early YouTube things that was like just back in the day when YouTube was just like whatever.
Infancy.
Like, before it became like, you know, like kids doing unboxing videos of whatever. Like, and it was just like I just made this weird thing. I'm just gonna put it on the internet, and like it would be like that, and like Charlie Bit My Finger was like the same kind of like
right.
Yeah, and just watch like it's just a guy doing this thing with his hands, but it was like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, and it was just like I don't know why it was so good, but it was. Well, I mean, like I guess what I mean is like nowadays, like you'd see something like that, and you'd be like, oh, it's a new TikTok trend, you know?
Right?
It wouldn't be that.
It's a challenge.
It wouldn't be that interesting, I think, as compared to when it came out. It was like when it came out, it was like everyone was like, "Dude, did you see the Daft Hands video? It was really cool."
I watched that back in the day. I mean, I'm not sure about now, but like back in the day, I would watch that more than I would watch the real music video. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more
I don't think
entertaining.
I don't think the real music video was on there yet.
Probably not.
You know?
Yeah,
because I don't think there was a lot of music videos at the beginning. You know,
right?
It was, I think I see 15 years ago on a lot of bands. So I think that the music part might have started around 15 years ago.
Right. When did Vimeo become a thing?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But that was Daft Hands was excellent. This has the original track for this one is really, really good. It is, let me pull it up here. Cola Bottle Baby by Edwin Birdsong. And the Cola Bottle Baby is referring to this lady that's got a Coca-Cola bottle figure. Yeah. He's using that instead of glass. What do they say? What's Hourglass.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That actually, I see what he's doing there. You know, that's It's a continuation on it, but it's slenderer because the glass bottle of a Coca-Cola bottle.
Yeah.
It's slenderer.
This is a slender lady.
Yeah.
More realistic.
It's a compliment.
Yeah. Let me. I thought they had the lyrics up for this one. This one's got fun lyrics. Hold on. Coca-Cola. I'm just gonna grab this one. Cola baby. Is that? I'll edit this, guys.
Long pauses.
Long pause. No, I'll leave everything
dramatic.
Long dramatic.
Live
pause.
and uncut.
Cola bottle baby.
Like Saturday Night Live.
Bottle
guys.
baby. Cola
Live from
bottle
Brad's house.
baby.
This will all be cut.
All of it.
We should do
You never
that
heard
sometime. Just a live
then not
show.
cut it.
Be all live from Brad's room.
Yeah.
Fun.
Sorry, I thought I had it and then I didn't.
And we're back.
We're moving on.
Here's genius. All right. I just want to, and let me know in the comments if you think that this was worth it. But I just wanted to read a little bit of this this bridge. Coke bottle shape. Yeah, she's got the pep. She's got the Pepsi good taste. 7-Up, fizz, fizz.
Damn.
Fizz, 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 fizz. She makes me fizz, 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 fizz. Leaves you sugar free. Fizz, 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 fizz. She makes you sugar free. Fizz, 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 fizz. End scene.
He couldn't work an RC Cola reference in there somewhere.
No, I mean this might be pre.
RC Cola would be a competing company to
I wonder,
Pepsi,
I
sir.
wonder when RC Cola
do
started.
that.
Who knows? But
It's also awful.
that's so. I don't know how those lyrics connect to the Discovery
I don't
theme.
think they do.
But I just thought it was important to
we did discover
to
them while
highlight them.
talking about.
She makes me want to have a pepper too.
She wants, pepper too. I don't know
Fizzy
why he
fizz.
works. It's so strange. Definitely listen to this one. The fizz part is very weird.
The thing is, it reminds me of like any super like 60s, 70s, 80s like advertisement. They all kind of had the same feel in a sense. Like it
does
simple,
feel like
jingle, like isn't that fizz, fizz, fizz?
Yeah. It feels like an advertisement in the middle of a song. But
Fizz girls singing their hearts out, doing the fizz.
It's like the Fanta girls in the background.
Yeah.
And the Fizzettes are here.
The Fizzettes. That's good.
Look at those legs, ladies.
That cola bottle legs.
I'm fizzing right now.
I'm fizzing right now. I fizzed in my pants. But yeah, the entire like first like 30 seconds is like, almost like exactly the same as in Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. So you don't have to listen to too much of the song to get all that. Just a great sample. Cola Bottle Baby by Edwin Birdsong. Look it up. And this is in Boom Boom Pow
soda
by Black Eyed Peas. It's in Boom Boom Pow.
Well, son of a gun.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, a band that I don't know if we'll ever cover on the podcast.
The END isn't going to show up on as a concept album.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah, my one might be skippable.
Oh.
Yeah. We talk about them a little bit on the YouTube channel if you guys want to hear my opinions on Black Eyed
album
Peas.
concept hours, after hours.
Yeah.
Right. Save that one for the B-sides.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the B side. I forgot about that one. We still haven't finished side B, technically.
It's a long side.
Yeah, it is. We got 49 in and just stopped. But yeah, this next song we got for you guys is the Crescendos. Fuck yeah, dude.
It's like if you took like early like rap and like mixed it in with like early Nintendo
Yeah,
I feel like there should be like a Mega Man mission or something.
There's definitely a few points where it gets very video gamey, music.
I mean, listen, we've all seen the movie here, you know.
Yeah.
It fits.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't meant to, it fits.
Yeah. And this is them getting, in the movie, this is them like being paraded out to the world and stuff as in this big new band. They keep on signing all these records and they're under mind control and shit. Yeah.
The way it used to be.
The way it used to be in the music industry.
Yeah,
and still is if you're in a major label.
Right. And that's one thing we talked about, or will, I guess, in the future talk about a lot in my episode, is that's one of the big running themes of the movie is just kind of the exploitation of the musician, like the music industry, and how it chews up these artists and just makes them product and stuff like that. And that
chews them up and spits them right.
And that's the actual name of the fictional band in the movie is the Crescendos.
Yeah. I like that. I like that connection that they make together. That they bring that titling into the movie.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed though,
just goes crazy for the Crescendo.
Dude, the entire world falls in love with them.
Right.
They really immediately go all like Beatles, But yeah, I think that part of the reason it's called Crescendos though is it's not technically a crescendo that's happening in this song, but there's two layers of things that continue to go up in scale, There's the do 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 do, and then there's the do 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 do, like
it's very like Nintendo.
Yeah, but they're both going up in pitch or up in note, and then restarting, but just at different angles. Yeah. So it's not. Again, not technically a crescendo because a crescendo is getting getting louder. This is just when you're moving up the music theory terms.
Tempo?
The bar of music was what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're Kevin would be so mad.
All the lines.
Yeah. You're moving up the.
Oh God.
The scale. You're going up the scale.
Moving up the scale.
You're moving up the scale. We are a music podcast.
I defer to you guys with the terms, I mean, because I know that Hans Zimmer does something similar in, I think it's Dunkirk, where he like by kind of having this like moving up the scales and kind of like repeating it makes it sound like it's going up and up and up forever, and you're just kind of building this anticipation. And even though it's literally tension. It's not. Exactly. It's not literally going up forever. It does give you that feeling because of just and like you said, because they are the two going up simultaneously. It gives you that impression. There's a really good video essay that Vox did about the Hans Zimmer score in, I think the track is called Submarine or something like that. And this is using that same principle to build the tension. Yeah.
And it definitely does. It builds the tension within the song, and it's again another kind of celebratory track, similar to the first track, as far as the vibe and like what the discovery angle is. It's very basic music structure, but like done very passionately and powerfully.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then. This is from a 1978 sample, and the lyrics are largely kind of similar to Imagine. I wrote down here. It's hold
on, John Lennon Imagine.
Yeah. It's got very similar themes going on. The song is called "Can You Imagine" by the Imperials, a soul group from 77 or 78. Depending on which website you're looking at. But yeah, I mean, it's literally like just the same sentiment, different vibe entirely, funky. Definitely doesn't sound like John Lennon, but lyrically very similar to Imagine by John Lennon. Right. And then we get on to Night Vision, the shortest track on the album. And the only one so far that does not have a sample. So here is Night Vision. Now, does that sound like any other song to you guys?
Yes, it's bugging the hell out of me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I have the answer. I do have the answer. What about you, Derek? Do you recognize what? So this doesn't have a sample, but it is heavily influenced by a song that exists.
Yeah.
I don't know. Other than, like my heart beating, I can't like draw anything any similarities.
Because the song does the original song that it's influenced by does have a heartbeat thing going on too, and the song is 10cc's "I'm Not in Love," which was on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Oh my God, I hear it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
My God, it's like it's in a movie. Why can't the place is like an 80s? It's a very 80s sound. Like, why can't I think this goddamn thing?
Yeah, the second I read it was 10cc's "I'm Not in Love," I'm like, oh, fuck, of course. Like, because it like some people, claim that there's a sample in there, but I don't hear it. I think that it is just them, paying homage to the 10cc song. Yeah. But yeah, 10cc's "I'm Not in Love," also a really, really cool production story. If you look it up, they did a lot to get the kind of ethereal, weird sound that they got. They recorded so many vocals just at different pitches and things, and then like just kind of used their vocals like instruments essentially, and in the mix.
Interesting. Interesting.
Really, really cool and stuff that I'm sure they were inspired by. As well as the sound, they were probably inspired by the story of how they created that sound,
That's rad.
But yeah, I think this is there's like a few tracks that are like specifically kind of in the dream realm, I guess, as far like, I don't know, they just feel dreamy, This is one of them. I don't know. I think that's a big part of discovery and finding your childlike wonder is having dreams.
I was really hoping this 25-second track had the 18 samples on it.
Right? Just a single second of each sample.
Right. And it feels very appropriately placed, because we were just talking about how Crescendos is so quick paced and just like building that tension and stuff like that. And that tension just feels like it's, it's a short song, but it's like very
catching your breath,
ethereal, and just exactly. It does the same thing, that Digital Love did a couple tracks earlier, where it's like we had a couple just very quick paced songs, and now it's time to catch your breath, and it serves the same purpose in the movie as it does in the album, where it's like, all right,
time out, guys, come on, time out.
Yeah,
we need to relax, guys. I've been dancing like crazy, and I need to get some water, maybe
rainy window,
Yeah. But I feel like this is like perfectly paced for like being at a rave. You know what I mean? Like, because you definitely need those moments in any dance situation. Otherwise, no one's gonna get a chance to stop.
Man, no downtime, always uptime.
Always uptime.
Can't stop,
won't stop. But yeah, that's interesting though, because I'm just noticing there's Digital Love on track 3, Night Vision track 6, and then Something About Us track 9. I mean, I forget if that's like chill like this, but similar like stuff going on, I think. But yeah, this next track we have for you is Night Vision again. This next track is Superheroes, and here it is. Yeah. So that's got a sample from Superheroes. Here we go. Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed by Barry Manilow. 1979.
Oh, damn.
Oh yeah, this is a song about
smooth.
This is a song about cheating, dude. This Barry Manilow song, all about like I smell like, whose cigarettes are those? Like I could feel that someone sleeping in my bed. Like, it's a very like jealous song about a dude dealing with a cheating partner. So,
right.
Which again, thematically, I don't think this one necessarily fits with the Discovery themes, but
He's discovering something.
That's true. That's true, Dave.
Yeah,
that's very true. He's discovering some shit.
It's a private eye.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very weird like song though, because it's got like such like it's got some of the exciting like kind of beautiful celebration of music stuff, but there's also this kind of foreboding quality to the other stuff going on in this track.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like something ain't right in this.
Yeah, something's not right, Brad.
Something ain't right.
Someone's
and
been
this is
sleeping with
one
him.
too that like when I first got really into Daft Punk and like listened to some of the stuff that was it was sampled from, and I like it was like you see those YouTube videos like this is where this comes from, and it showed like the Barry Manilow song, and like there's just like a 1 second thing where he says the air, and then I was like I'd heard that so many times because it's obviously repeated in the song, and I'd listened to the song a bunch. And it's just like a 1 second thing where he says the air and it's part of a larger lyric and it's like, pitched up and stuff. And I'm just like, it blew my mind. I was like, that's when I first got like, oh, sampling. That's what this is. I thought, I was just like, okay, you can just take this one little thing and expand it exponentially and make it like a whole song. And it's just like 2 words that Barry Manilow said.
And what's crazy about that whole concept is just like people have been doing that like for years and years and years of music and technology. And it's just like, where do you like come across the idea to use those 2 words? You're listening to the song and you like that 5 second, 10 second, 15 second bit so much. You're going to build something around that. And that's really cool.
That gets me like, so one thing that I kept thinking about while putting this together for the samples is like I have a lot of like the best parts of songs. That's what I try to do for the my sampling for this podcast. So like it wouldn't be too hard for me to like build some samples because I've already done a little bit of the legwork. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well,
now I just gotta see
if you were just to do it, because you've done such specific legwork. It's only going to get easier.
And you just need little snippets of things to build into something. So
when's the Brad LeBaron LP dropping?
Dude, right, exactly. Someone send me a turntable so I can learn how to do this stuff.
Well, the first Beastie Boy album, they explained like Hold Now Hit It. They just like walking around just like joking around like, well, for that one when it says hold it now, we should put that in it. Let's come say hit it. That's a song. And they just started playing around like what they thought was hilarious and what was like what we put in here.
Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of times it is like there is one sample that's kind of doing the heavy lifting, and they build around that. For some of the for a long time that's the way it just was just 1 or 2 samples that over and over and over again they make something new. And what do you guys think that he's saying in this one, by the way? I don't want to spoil it. What do you think he's saying?
Well, the
same.
I saw the lyric thing. It looked like there was the same thing.
You did see the okay. All right.
I didn't see what it was, but it was a lot of one thing.
Yes. What about you? Do you know, Derek? What he's saying?
I heard the air.
Something's in the air is what he's saying. But I have a lot of comments here on the lyrics for Genius. What other people thought was being said for this song. So I just want to take a moment to read through a couple of these. We have Andrew Fleetes says, sounds like dolphins in the air for me. Okay. And then we got, hold on, let me expand this. We got Fernanda says, cum is in the air. They thought it was cum is in the air.
Oh, no, it was on her mind. No.
We have Soupy Soggy. They think that they hear it's in the asshole.
Oh!
It's in the asshole, in the asshole. We got Jalapena, hands in the air. Yeezy taught me 0414, don't consume the air. Then we have D-Boy Fresh, Hulk is in the air. Hulk is in the air. Hulk is in the air. Wub G, don't moon the air. Kids Bob's fan 26, love is in the air. I could see that. I could definitely see that. And then Matthias Sufi, says club is in the air is what he heard. So a lot of wildly different conceptions of what people heard throughout the years.
It's like an ink blot test.
Yeah. I was just surprised at how many of these actually like work when you actually like try them out, you know?
Yeah.
But I couldn't move forward until we got through a couple of those.
Because I've always just heard "Oh, the air." That's all I ever heard. So that's
yeah. I don't think I ever even tried to figure out what this was. That's the thing. A lot of the Daft Punk stuff, like when it's this chopped up, I don't know. I don't think that's the point necessarily, you know. But but yeah, something's in the air is what Barry Manilow's saying here. And it really, you know, honestly, for the theme of the movie, really, really fits because this is like kind of a sinister part where, well, not a sinister. It's a part where the dude is trying to save them from their situation, and it's a high tension moment, you know. But yeah, then we get on to High Life, and then we'll probably take a quick break after that. Here is High Life.
Man, tell me that's a disco sample.
Dude, right? Yeah, of course. Now this one is a sample.
I know you know.
Is Breakdown for Love by Tavares, 1980.
Close enough.
Yeah. Yeah, really fun track. A lot of the stuff moving forward is a lot of love song type stuff. And then as far as the since we were just talking about people's interpretations of this, this guy named Dim thought that there was a chick saying bonga bong over and over again. Bonga bong. So
let's make a new song.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll tell people, because obviously this is an audio medium, so they can't see us, but every time you're putting on one of these clips, all of us are just like bopping our heads and just like group, because it's impossible not to.
Yeah,
like,
right.
These songs are so
how could you?
Fucking
you
good.
Know,
like you just get like caught up in it. You're like, yeah, like you know, you just can't help but move to the. And I'm sure people listening, you know, whenever you're playing these clips, are doing the same thing. Honestly,
yeah, I hope you're doing the same thing. Honestly, like that's the way to listen to this music. Like it is, so groovy. And taking a bike ride, listening to all the samples that created these songs was like so much fun. Like I just was in the zone listening to these samples. And it's a really small one for this one. This one's like a really small part over and over again. And another, again, dancey kind of fun, celebratory song for music, living the high life,
Yeah.
And I'm unsure what to make of it thematically. Honestly, that's what I have for my notes. So
notes is just a question mark.
You gotta, you win some, you lose some. It's a good track. Don't know how it connects to Discovery necessarily, but
it's good for the movie though.
It's great for the movie. The movie, it really, the movie has a very much
movie
more
fills out a lot of this stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you people. Watch the movie.
Watch the movie. Listen to us talk about it in the future.
I think it's our recommendation.
Well, it's Derek's recommendation too, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, he
that's
started
what I
all
mean
this
by ours.
in the distant
I
future.
meant everyone on the podcast. So.
Yeah. I do like
movie's great.
Yeah,
it's what inspired this whole thing. I think
movie's excellent.
And I was like, I tell this on my podcast, but I was just like, when I was doing this, I was like, okay, like I really want to cover this movie. It's very underrated. I think more people need to see it. And I was like, I know a guy who knows a thing or two about concept albums. Let me see if he's after this.
Yeah. That is
the guy. Brad.
That is my chosen lane. That is what I'm trying to, put the line in the sand for myself.
Exactly. It's the way that I want to be associated with underrated movies. You want to got the concept album. So I think we're each kind of finding.
I don't
our
think
own
it can be
path.
said that anyone has discussed more concept albums than me. I believe that I hold that.
We're almost at 200. We gotta be close.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been putting in the work.
The authority on the subject.
Yeah. Someone asked me what my favorite concept album was the other night, and I was like,
you know what happened?
I gotta go through this again.
You know what happened when pandemic happened? I thought we could get like a little break, because we were doing it every week online. I suggested a season finale and everything.
Oh yeah,
we went a week without a show, and Brad was like, "Nah, we're doing more."
Yeah. I was like, "We're taking a break," but it was like really just
we just kept.
It was more of a break of like,
oh, dude, it's
the
great.
release schedule.
It's great,
right? Yeah.
It was like, well. It's not really a break for us. It's a break for the fans.
It actually was a really good like learning experience too. We learned a lot, like especially you learned a lot about like the whole process, like how to do like stuff over like the internet, guests. We got more guests after that because we were willing to do more stuff.
Yeah. We figured it out. We figured out.
We did some stuff.
That pandemic. We made lemonade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Damn right we did.
I feel like I had just started, people are always like, oh, did you start your podcast because of the pandemic? I'm like, no, I started like a year before that, but I really had to figure some stuff out.
Oh, okay. You were another year, right before. We were a year before the pandemic too. And it's like, I know everyone else started during the pandemic, but you have to remember there was a time where this was uncool. Like
we thought we were cool
before the pandemic
by doing the uncool thing.
Yeah. Like we were. It was. I mean, it wasn't niche, but it wasn't like it is now.
Right. Like if you look at like the charts or whatever, like the number of podcasts, like 2019 to like 2020, at like octuples or whatever.
Yeah. It's insane. There's too many of these things. Ours can stay, but other than that, there's too many of these podcasts out there. With that, we'll take a quick break, and then we're gonna get back here with the next track of the album. It's the Something About Us. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's one of my faves. So we'll be right back on the Album Concept Hour. Welcome back, everybody, to the Album Concept Hour. We are here for the second half of Daft Punk's Discovery from 2001 with our guest, Derick McDuff from the Underrated Podcast and others. The McDuff Man.
Duff Man, come on.
Duff Man says a lot of things. Oh yeah.
Did you get McDuff Man in high school?
Oh yeah. I got Duff Man all the time. And I wear it like a badge. Like my best friend calls me Duff Man. Like that's his nickname for me.
Hell yeah.
Duff Man can't breathe.
What's up, Duff Man?
It's a heck of a nickname. It's not a bad one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It was funny because like from like the like. Because I was in theater too, so a lot of the theater nerds were like, "Oh, McDuff, like Shakespeare," and then the people who were like the Simpsons fans were like, "Duff Man," or even like his dog was, I think, called like something McDuff or something like that. So that was even more in line with my name.
Nice. I just had B-Rad from Malibu's Most Wanted, and luckily that's mostly fallen off. Most people don't go with B-Rad anymore. It fell off, which I appreciate.
I got Derek Zoolander a lot too. Zoolander was a big one.
Huh. I guess. Yeah. I don't remember, I guess, that his name was Derek. But yeah.
You just think Blue Steel.
I think Blue Steel, that's got Blue Steel
and gas
Zoolander
fights.
and the gas fight. Yeah.
There's not a lot of Dereks in movies. There's a lot of sports Dereks, weirdly, but not a lot of Dereks in the fictional universe.
Feels like a sporty kind of name,
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a couple tracks left for you guys. We got 9 through 14 coming up, and this next track is Something About Us. Such a good track. Here we go.
I might not be the right one. It might not be the right time. But there's something about us I've got to do. Some kind of secret I will share with you. I need you more than anything in my life.
The Love Guru bot.
Oh my God, right? This one is, fun fact, one of Frank Ocean's favorite songs.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That checks out. Out.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. This one I feel like is kind of, I guess, I don't know, part 2 of a trilogy of songs for this album for me. Because we have Digital Love, we have Something About Us, and then Face to Face, which are all like lyrically very much about, falling in love, that kind of first love kind of feeling. And this one, the first one, he's kind of pining after someone in Digital Love. And then this one, he's like, actually addressing like, I need you more than anything in my life. I want you more than anything in my life. And actually vocalizing that kind of what was just kind of a crush, I think, in Digital Love. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, to me, this always felt like, like you said, the first one is like the crush that you have. And this is like right at the point of the relationship where you're like, oh no, this is like real. Like, I am really, like, it's when you really catch feels for somebody.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I am in this. And you're like hoping that they're on the same level. And you might even be too afraid to say it. Like, it seems like somebody who either is afraid to and hasn't yet, or they just like busted out the love word for the first time in the relationship,
Yeah. It's almost a little scary, this one.
That's a big deal,
Yeah. It's so intimate. Because there's the line, I might not be the right one, it might not be the right time, but there's something about us I've got to do, some kind of secret I'll share with you, and then the refrain. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's hard to capture exactly what makes this song as special as it is.
But, I hate to do that, but you point to the movie. Isn't this where like he shares the dream with,
so so this is like this in the movie, this is like literally the reversal of Digital Love, because like in Digital Love, it's the space trucker that is daydreaming about the girl in the band, Stella. Oh, that's right. Her name's Stella. That's right. And then this track, he is doing the same for her. He's bringing her into his kind of fantasy as a way to kind of jog their memories, or at least start the process of jogging their memories. So like, it's a really beautiful, like, it's like poetry. It rhymes. I don't know. Such a beautiful thing in the movie. But
no, and you're really hitting on something with this, you looking to the movie, because in Digital Love, it's just a daydream, it's a fantasy, it's a crush that he has. But at this point in the movie, he's actually really connecting with the real Stella, this thing that has fantasy has become. He saved her, and he's showing her the reality of her life that he understands so much more than she does of her own life, because she doesn't remember any of it. And the fantasy has become the reality at this point, and it's like the point of the relationship where you're early on in the relationship where you just have a crush on somebody, you think about what it could be, and this is the point where you're like, oh no, it's starting to really be that. It is becoming a real thing. And this one, as far as I know, is an original with no samples. I think that there's probably people that say that there are samples on this, but I could not find any evidence of samples. That's, I think, what goes in this song's favor, the fact that they can write something like this without any of the inclusion of those samples from 75 to 85, like, because it feels same as any other track on this album, and then just a really, really great love song in general. I can see that being played at a wedding or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I want to say too that this is the last single released from this album. And I always feel like, and you guys know more about this stuff than I do, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I always feel like the late singles are always the ones, like, you release the first couple singles you release are like the ones that are like quick and poppy, and they're gonna really get it. And then by the time you're releasing like the sixth or whatever, the last couple singles from the album, you're like doing the ones that are like deeper cuts, but they're still really important and they're still good, but they might be like this where they're a bit slower. They're not going to necessarily chart, but they're still going to be like bangers.
And maybe sometimes it's like a fan favorite,
usually the first ones tend to be like the record company kind of pushing something like, oh, this is the song we got to put out.
Yeah. Like One More Time in the movie, you know,
right?
It was the song, you know. I like that. That's and that is the first single for the album too, which I like. I like that it fits with the theme of the movie that it is the first single, you know.
Yeah. And one thing is, I feel like a lot of the times, like the early singles are always like early on the playlist, but then you get like a one like this is like obviously in the back half of the album, where there's like always like a late single that's like, all right, what do we got from? We got the bangers in the front, but what do we got from the end of the tracks that we want to put out and like kind of highlight? Yeah,
almost like a B-side. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, no, literally B-side. What am I talking about? But again, some of the better singles, especially like, you know, Gorillaz is another band that I think about when I think about how they put stuff out, similar to Daft Punk.
I'll tell you, well, when I was watching this, I was thinking, I was like, you know, did Dan Albarn?
Yeah.
Damon
Albarn.
Damon,
yeah.
right. He probably watched this and was
probably seething with jealousy.
He was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And he did that. You know?
Well, I guess, I mean, this is the year that Gorillaz starts proper, I think.
Because he's doing Blur
2001.
before this, but
Yeah. He maybe Daft Punk was what pushed him into doing
he's like, fine,
else.
I'll do this.
Yeah, I'll sample stuff and rap sometimes.
Yeah, but I think it's so funny that like Gorillaz was just his weird side thing that he was doing. It was like, and then it became like Blur is still like, you know, big, but like Gorillaz is just like humongous. You know?
Well, yeah, Clint Eastwood just took over when it came
right.
out, you know, just solidifying them, you know.
Just like the real Clint Eastwood.
Oh, it was a great song.
Yeah, just like the real Clint Eastwood.
It was a banger.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that I say in the episode, but Interstella 5555 is like what Damon Albarn's always wanted is to make a movie of Gorillaz, and he's just never gotten the chance to do the full
He tried
Yeah.
with the one with the Plastic Beach.
Yeah, he got real close with that one, man. There was a lot of connected tissue with that, yeah. But yeah, this next track we got for you guys is the 10th track on the album. This is Voyager. Yeah, that was Voyager. Yeah. I love the bass in that track. It's he's really getting groovy, getting funky, that bass. This one I'm not sure if it has a sample. There's like I have it listed that there's a sample from 1983, but I'm seeing on who sampled, they don't have it listed. So again, with the samples, there's a little bit of little dispute between people on whether or not some of these have
difference of opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, listen, we all know a song where we think we've heard before. We've heard a riff, and it's never really mentioned, you know.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's just, you know, they did just replicate the sound of an older thing really well, you know. So
yeah, and or like speaking of the Gorillaz, sometimes it'll just be like a soundboard, and it's just like, here, this is where this came from. And
you guys yeah. The Clint Eastwood one was really oh wow, you guys just did a the out of the box sample on that thing.
Well, you know, I tell you, I always find it funny, like the way our system is set up for like things like this and patents, you know. Yeah, because it's like when the system really like started, it was like you could always use stuff that we'd been using for hundreds of years. Yeah. You know, like stuff that was in the what is it called? The public domain. Yeah. Right. You know, and then it gets just really murky now because it's like some of the biggest artists in the world, some like Disney. Use that public domain. But now you can't take what they're using, even though it is basically public domain, because some of it
should be
public. What I mean is like it's been in the public eye for so long, that it's in the same kind of category.
But we got Steamboat Willie now.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
You just can't draw Mickey with gloves, but you can
And
get
Pooh
him.
Bear. We have Pooh.
no!
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
People keep doing like scary like horror stuff.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But yeah, we'll get to it with Face to Face. Like that's where the copyright stuff really comes in, because Face to Face is basically like one of the tracks from Paul's Boutique with the samples. But yeah, this one's another kind of dreamlike track. I feel like dreaming is a big part of these tracks, just kind of daydreaming or night dreaming.
I'm dreaming
whatever.
right now.
This podcast isn't actually happening.
It's very spacey. I feel like the name Voyager comes from like the Voyager satellite, maybe. Like maybe I'm just but that's what the connection that I always made in my head when I hear it. I feel like you're kind of just like drifting through space or whatever.
Yeah, and it is. I think that it's another kind of wondrous kind of something that I don't know feels close to the concepts that we've been discussing. And then we get to another track here called Veritas Quo. Here we go.
This is when they find out about the plot.
Oh yeah, this is when the plot really thickens in the movie. Yeah.
This is an older artist, well, not older, but like early late 2000s. Sally Shapiro. She started doing with a partner she met, doing like a redoing Italian disco.
Okay.
It has a lot of this like very like the feels and sounds to all the like these same tracks. When this track hit, I'm like, yeah. This is good. This is the solid track.
It's like classical disco,
right?
Kind of
awesome.
Yeah.
Like this, honestly, is like kind of like low key. Like I want to say it's my favorite because like One More Time and some of the songs are so good, but I'm like it's low key my favorite. Like it's like one of those ones. It's like this. It's so good, and it's one of those ones that doesn't get talked about a ton because it's just instrumental. But you're saying, it's very. It feels like, I think they described it, Daft Punk themselves described it as like faux classical. And I think it does a thing that's so cool where it's taking this like, classical sounding, almost orchestral thing, but putting it through the filter of like electronic or like classical, where it's got like synthesized versions of this kind of
like the switched on Bach.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, it's one of my favorite tracks to listen to, I'll listen to it a lot when I'm writing. Like I have a whole big soundtrack of like, classical music to play D&D or to write or whatever too. And this is like one of the ones that's at that top of that playlist because I could just listen to it anytime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this one does it either, I'm not sure if it fully samples or if it is inspired by the song Supernature by Cerrone. Mark Cerrone is a disco electro songwriter. This one is kind of one of the disputed ones, but a lot of people think that the sample is in the song. I'm just looking at the lyrics for Supernature. This was kind of a darker one. There's like, let's see, verse 3 of Supernature. How can I explain things are different today? Darkness all around and nobody makes a sound. Such a sad affair. No one seems to care. So, this one's got some dark stuff going on in it, which is fitting considering what's going on in Interstella. One cool thing about this track, though, there's a couple of wordplay things with the title of this track. First of all, Veritas Quo, very disco. That's one of the things. Also, if you rearrange the words Veritas Quo, if you put
a jumble.
Very at the end of the phrase, it says disco very discovery. Yeah. So, a few cool wordplay things. Veritas Quo in Latin, of course, means where are you going? So, A
lot off to discover.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Voyager and Discovery makes a lot of sense together as far as what the purpose of Voyager is.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Good call. I took a second to land, but yeah,
we got there. We got
there. Yeah,
stuck it.
But I will say it's only. I mean, it's not really very disco. It's kind of disco, so I don't know. This next record we got for you though is Short Circuit. I do think that track, I can see like that some people probably like tracks 10 through 12 are probably kind of lesser listened to sections, because I think that a lot of times the focus is on something about us and then face to face, But these three songs, Voyager, Veritas Quo, and Short Circuit, like really, I don't know, they're all very good in their own right. Like they have some interesting things going on. I think you should listen to these tracks, guys.
Right.
Yeah. Again, no sample in sight for this one, as far as I know. But there's someone on the Genius said something that I wanted to read.
There's an old like 80s song music video that sounded very similar to this. I can't place it.
Okay.
Been bugging me.
But yeah, there's a guy that made made a really good connection as to some of the production parts of this. This is garbage _ trash. By the way, really cool how Short Circuit is instrumentally represented in the outro through the distortion. And then I have that little section.
That part I'm just always like, whenever that hits, I'm like, that's some, that's the reason they're robots, like that's the shit.
Yeah, right, exactly. So this one for me feels like the robots themselves are like short circuiting after like doing all of this discovery and learning all this stuff about themselves. And I like that it is like, like the Genius contributor said, like it is instrumentally short circuiting. It is losing its quality. It is, a really, really clever thing to do for a song called Short Circuit.
About the movie Short Circuit with Johnny Five.
That's the only thing it's missing, Dave.
Right.
Is a sample from Johnny Five.
It should be at the end. Just no disassemble.
Disassemble. Deep cut. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, and I'll say, circle back to something you were saying earlier too.
Yeah.
Is that, like you said, the tracks 10 through 12 probably aren't the ones that get listened to as much, but like this is just like, I think for me, front to back, a perfect album where even like, the ones that aren't like the bangers that you think of are like perfect tracks. Like there's not a skippable. So like sometimes, especially when I like listen to albums on the repeat, which I did like, this is one of my most listened to albums ever. Since, we've been talking about it, knowing that it was we were going to be talking about this album, I've been listening to it for the past couple weeks, and there's no skips in this album. I just listened to it the whole way through. I listened to it a couple times today before coming on as I was doing some writing, and it's just like, no skips, just like keep the vibes going,
Yeah, I had a similar experience. Like I've listened to each of these tracks like several times, trying to find where the samples are, and like I don't get sick of listening to these tracks,
Yeah.
Even if it's like maybe, less exciting sometimes than others, I also don't skip, especially for this album, because it's like, it's so, I don't know. Like there's a lot of albums that have this kind of section in the album where it's like, it's not quite at the end. It's like the third act kind of. And, they're just kind of getting deep into their feelings and getting, introspective maybe,
right.
But yeah, a necessary part of the experience as well,
Yeah. And some albums you're like, all right, these are good, but like I've already listened to it a couple times. I'm going to get back to the bangers, but never the case on this one.
Yeah. You can really just kind of like meditate and fade into these,
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of bangers, though, we get to this next track, Face to Face, which is like sample-wise, absolutely the most incredible track on this album. So yeah, we'll talk about it. This is collaboration with Todd Edwards, a music EDM house producer that they were fond of. Here's Face to Face.
It really didn't make sense just to leave this unresolved. It's not hard to go the distance when you finally get involved face to face.
Okay, first we'll play our little game. What do you think it is? What do you think they're saying? The last little bit when it's like
when you think it all. I don't know. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah. Listen to it one more time, quick. Here.
So
face to face, maybe.
So what I've always heard is it's deferred too long, or it's the furlough, which I'm sure is not right. But that's what.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. You guys have any ideas?
I think I heard face to face.
Some people do hear face to face.
I don't know.
Some people do hear face to face.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Listen for so long.
That's close. That feels close. However, what he's saying is Christopher Rob, or Christopher Rob, Christopher Rob.
Like
he's saying Christopher and Christopher Rob.
Enough.
It's from a sample that what was it? Who is in this sample? He's talking about Christopher Robin in the song, which is like, as far as the discovery thing goes, very like on point for what the theme is, being rediscovering your childhood and your here it is, House at Pooh Corner by Kenny Loggins and Jim Messina is where that is from.
Woman, huh?
And it also has a bit of Evil Woman. Like you can definitely hear that one when you look it up. Old and Wise by Alan Parsons Project. And these are only the ones that are
we know about
that are like I think officially labeled as samples. However, you can find several videos on the internet where this whole section is like 18 samples all being used for tiny little bits, like a drum here, a single bass note here. Like it's really a masterclass in sampling. And I think there was a lot of years where people didn't know all of the samples, much like with Beastie Boys.
Yep.
What's the album I keep forgetting?
Paul's Boutique.
It's
funny. Even like people have asked them later, and they're like, "This shit's been just kind of lost because Matt Daiku helped. He's passed. Yauka's passed. So you're losing two of the main members that were there doing this, and then the rest are like." We were just doing a lot of stuff. We were just like grabbing albums, playing stuff, and like, how about this? How about this?
Yeah.
And so I think it came to a lot of like, maybe they had notes, but also I think it was a lot of people just also digging, trying to like, I hear this, I know this beat.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, like I think with this one, like I think that the guys from Daft Punk proper like don't even know all of the samples or didn't know all the samples that were being used in this one because they try to in the Wikipedia they maintain that a lot of the samples that people claim that are being used are not being used. And I think that's true of every track except for this one. This one, like I've seen so many videos of the different people like putting it together on their own. That's like, oh no, this actually is full of samples. So yeah, I this one is definitely worth. I'll put a link in the description of one of those videos. But it's just really amazing hearing someone like rebuild it, from the original components, because there's a lot of tracks.
It kind of blows your mind, honestly.
Yeah. Well, because especially because the samples are so small. That's the really impressive part of it. Is like they're not like loopable parts necessarily. They're only loopable all together. Normally
it's like
you're looking for your
piece of
loopable
the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. You take any piece away and it's just not as full.
Mm-hmm.
There's like some flutes in the background that are from a specific song that's like really, really like low in the mix. Like I only heard the flute stuff when I was listening on headphones finally, but yeah, a lot of stuff to dig into. There's also a song that does talk about needing to be face to face to resolve relationship stuff, which is part of what the lyrics are talking about in this track. It's kind of like a guy that's realizing like he may be messed up in trying to share his feelings through like letters or through different means, and he should have been face to face with this person to really show them and have that discussion of feelings. However, the sample one is a little more jaded. It's more like putting a lot of blame on the other person in that track, but I can't remember the name of the track because it's not listed here. But yeah, this one's got layers, guys. This one's like an onion. It's got layers. It's got a lot of layers. It's
sometimes you cry.
One of the best tracks of the album, I think, as far as the production and everything. And a lot of YouTube videos about it. So I won't belabor the point. But we have the last track of the album, which is appropriately titled Too Long. It's a 10-minute track, but doesn't really feel like it. But here is verse 1, and then I got a bit of the outro bit.
Yeah. At last, the long wait is over. The weight is off my shoulders. I'm taking all control, yeah. My mind is set so free. I'm where I want to be to get the best of me.
And then here's a bit of the outro.
Yeah, you're right. They did not feel like 10 minutes.
No, that was only like 30. It was like less than a minute, actually. Like, wow. But, yeah. This one samples again several songs. This one's got "First Come First Served" by Rosie Royce or Rose Royce from 1978.
Royce, yeah.
"Running Away" by Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, 1981, and then "One Cold Vibe," "Couldn't Stop Dis Ya Boogie" by Third World. So, what I like about this is like you have the Todd Edwards track "Face to Face" that's got a million fucking samples in it, and then finally in this last track, Daft Punk use maybe the most samples they use in a single song. And again, you have Romanthony singing for this last track, like I mentioned earlier. Rest in peace. And what I really, really enjoy about this track as compared to the first one is the first track, there's a lot of auto-tune on him. He sounds a little more robotic. This track, he's clean. It's clean vocals. And, my kind of headcanon here is seeing as the album leads to Human After All after this.
Free the Machine.
It's like they finally just have a regular clean vocal for him to kind of signify that rather than what he's doing in the first track. But yeah, that's my headcanon.
No, that makes sense. It works because it's kind of like you said, this is like it starts with them becoming robots, but then are they human after all, and then it starts with the more robotic auto-tuned kind of version, and this it's like that long just kind of like he's there is still humanity in these robots.
They're after going through all of this discovery, they're like finally like regaining that humanity after having experienced some very human things.
That's who was writing this the whole time.
Yeah. It was Romanthony the whole time. I'm not too familiar with Romanthony's like discography or whatever. He's kind of a smaller, a more indie artist, but if it's in this vein, I'd love to know more. But yeah, I love how it starts kind of where the album it stops where the album started, kind of with this big celebratory number that's just like, things are awesome, I love everyone, let's boogie, let's dance, let's have a good time. It's just it's such a boogie. I don't know. Really, really great track. I can't say enough good things about it. It's amazing that it's 10 minutes because it really does minutes. Not feel. I don't know. Maybe it does for some people, but
listen, man. Again, we're going right back to it, dude. That's why the movie's so because it wraps up the movie.
Well, yeah, I love in the movie like half of the song they're like traveling through space. And then half of the song they're doing their final concert or whatever, which is like, I love that like the first thing that they do when they get back home is immediately do a concert upon landing. Like they are playing a concert when they get happy. Well, I love it. Like, well, they're playing. What's cool about in the movie is they're playing a new song. Like they wrote a new song. They're playing that new song because the whole movie it's just one more time throughout, and then this is the new track. But oh no, that's kind of fallen over a little bit. I'll have to tighten that. Any final thoughts on the album before we move on to our final segment?
On this song, I wanted to just say, it makes sense that this is the last one, and like we were saying, that it connects to like in the movie. Because it's like, okay, like there's kind of like this is like a concept of the album is like, it's about like, remember your childhood memories and stuff like that. And movies like a concept about like aliens and, all this stuff. And those seem like two disconnected things, but the last scene of the movie where you do have like a kid and it's like,
it's just the kid is
imagining stuff kind of combines those
Dallas
things
all
together.
over.
That's true. That's true. Like at the very last scene of the movie does marry the two concepts like perfectly. Yeah. Because it makes it seem like Stellar 555 could have just been a whole dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess like kind of makes the dreamlike tracks make sense.
It makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
You can't just save the universe by collecting songs and song power.
Yeah.
Why not?
Although it says that he's listening
gold discs.
Although it says he's listening to a live 1997, which he is not. Right. He is listening to Discovery. So there's one lie there
is some
gives you enough reason to doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also one more thing too I want to say is that I love that it's called, you alluded to this, Brad, that it's called Too Long and it's 10 minutes long. It feels like a very like it feels like somebody, like some producer was like, you can't make a 10-minute song. And they were like, you know what? They're like, that's too long. And so they're like, you know what? We're going to make a song that's exactly 10 minutes and we're going to call it Too Long.
We're going to call it Too Long. Yeah.
Right?
End our album with
right?
Exactly.
And with the themes of them like kind of pushing back against the record industry, it feels like that's maybe something they're telegraphing a little bit.
That would be interesting. I'd love it if that was actually the case. That this was them like barking back at some like notes that they got or something. Yeah. But it's definitely a feat to make a song that keeps you interested like this at the end of the album, no less. So
it's a sixth of the entire album.
That's true. It's only an hour long, so almost exactly an hour long. It's very very close. Yeah. But we have one more thing we do before we get out of here, and that's go around the horn and find out what everyone's been listening to and what they have to plug. We'll go me, John, Dave, and our guest. I have been listening to a lot of the playlists that I'll be putting in the description for this album. There's just too many good tracks to mention, but Yeah, I also going to my searches quick. Listen to a bit of Herb Albert radio when I was driving around with my little cousin. And Lunar Moth. I will say, Lunar Moth, their new album "Stranger" is out. It was really, really good. The album release show that I went to last Saturday, I had a fucking ball. They blew the house off, the roof off of the respective venue. I saw Proud Parents there. Also, really, really good show. Just a lot of fun going out to like a more local, smaller show at the VFW. That's honestly what I'm going to plug. I'm going to plug going and listening to Lunar Moth's album "Stranger" that is brand new. So,
nice.
How about you, John?
Oh man, well I've been listening to a lot of country music actually because I just went to the Willie Nelson concert at Breeze Stevens.
Damn, what was that like, dude?
Dude, it was great.
Yeah,
he sang for an hour and a half, and he was good.
Man.
He was good. He had a really nice, very familiar band.
Yeah,
dude, it was really cool though. The people in the apartment building, like right behind us, they were like standing out on their decks and stuff, and just because it was just it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like it wasn't like a wild show. It was just Willie, and he had his guitar.
Yeah.
And he's just
Trigger, right?
Trigger.
Yeah, Trigger.
It had the hole and everything. It was
man.
It was a really good show.
That's so cool.
We had a really good time. Me and my friends had a really good time.
Nice.
Willie still got it.
He still got it.
Listen to that.
That's good to hear, man.
Yeah,
That's
I love it when
the
old guys they still kill it. Saw AC/DC a couple Coachella a couple
hour
years ago,
and a half.
And it's like, damn,
91 years old, fellas.
Yeah, that
91 years
wild.
Old. And as far as what I have to plug, everybody should watch the butterfly story about reading rainbow on Netflix. There's a documentary about Netflix. Reading rainbow on Netflix. It's called
Butterfly in the Sky.
Butterfly in the Sky.
I go twice as high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talks about everything. It's really good.
Nice.
And as far as things to come, there's a Jim Henson documentary coming out on Disney Plus that I'm really excited for.
Oh, I watched the Beach Boys doc
tomorrow.
The Beach Boys doc is really good.
I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. It's coming, but I'm very, very excited for the Jim Henson one because I love me some Muppets and Sesame Street. So.
Yeah, hell yeah. What about you, Dave?
I think it's been like a few weeks since we've done this, so I'll just cram a couple things into it. Since the weather's been super nice, there's an old favorite band of mine, sort of a punk band, Impossibles. Their first album came out, I think, in 95 or 96, right around the time I remember my friend started driving, so that was like a CD that was always in the cars. So it reminds me of like driving. It's nice. Let's just fuck around today.
Yeah.
So when I it's nice. Like I put that. I'm like, I'm in my good space.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
For something different and weird, I pulled out again was some old mashup from Girl Talk.
Hell
Night
yeah.
Ripper, Feed the Animals. And I was kind of disappointed that I remember like all day we used to be on, I thought it was on Spotify, but it's not anymore. But there's one great track on that.
Okay.
Probably my favorite minute and a half is Ice Cube and Devo. There's a great like clip of those two together. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, Feed the Animals and Night Ripper are fantastic. If you want some of all the mashups I listen to, like that's probably some of the best stuff. So
yeah, that's some good mashup stuff.
Those albums are fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
What about you, Derek? What have you been listening to lately, and what do you got to plug?
Yeah, I mean, other than Discovery, which I have been listening to on repeat, I've been listening to the soundtrack for Challengers, which is Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. It's very house inspired.
Okay,
really great soundtrack. Doesn't really sound like anything else. And there's also like a remixed version of it by Boys Noise. That is pretty phenomenal too. So I'd highly recommend that, especially if you're a fan of Reznor and Ross, and
I love good movie soundtracks. And they are some of the better ones out there.
Mm-hmm. So I'd recommend both that and the remixed version. And then for stuff I got to plug, of course, Underrated Movie Podcast. Check that out. The same day that this comes out, I'm in the middle right now of doing a mini series called Extended Edition, where I'm talking about director's cuts or alternative cuts of movies, and why there's some movies like that people might have seen like the regular version, but I'm like, guess what? There's this whole other version that's kind of underrated. Today's episode is going to be Michael Mann's director's cut of Black Hat. So that's part of the reason why your episode's dropping a little bit later in July, because I'm wrapping up that mini series. And then, of course, so Black Hat, then Kingdom of Heaven next week, and then after that, get to listen to the part 1 or part 2, depending on how you want to take it, of this kind of podcast where we go into Interstella 55. And then one more thing, too, I want to mention is that I can't give any details yet. I don't think I'm allowed to at this point. But if anybody is in Southern California, or if you're planning to go to Comic-Con, I'm going to be having a panel at Comic-Con. So, so
that's exciting.
Damn, you heard it here, folks.
So
you're not allowed to talk about who you're interviewing. Is that right?
It is like my panel, but I'm not allowed to give any details yet. I'm like very protective about that stuff. So. But stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram, Underrated Movie Podcast, and I'll be announcing.
Derek is going to announce the new Avengers movie at Comic-Con. So look forward to that. Man,
can I say one more thing?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
I would just like to say a big thank you out to X-Men 97.
Oh yeah,
for shooting a wonderful shout out to our man Ron Wasserman.
That's true.
Did the theme?
Yeah, they did have a
one of the last episodes of the season. They did Wasserman's. He pointed it out. It's him. That's his last name.
Nice.
Thank you, X-Men 97.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I was about to start a campaign.
Definitely shout out to Ron Wasserman.
Signatures,
nice.
Send them to Disney. Not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
He's happy, so I'm happy. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Right,
good call. No, good call.
Well, he is our friend and associate. So.
Yeah. No, he had a great day when that he got contacted by a lot of people when that happened. So he was really excited to hear about all that. So that's been Daft Punk's Discovery from 2001. Thank you so much, Derek, for being on the podcast again, and obviously we'll have you back at some point. I think we do need to do that other Killers album at some point.
Okay, hell yeah.
We'll definitely have you back, and thank you for having me on your podcast. I had a lot of fun. Everybody listen to that in about a month or so. There's going to be his episode out about Interstella 5555, where we really dive into the movie specifically. So, look forward to that, everybody. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Album Concept Hour. The Album Concept Hour is Brad LeBaron, Dave Gallagher, and John Aker. Special thanks to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the theme music. Join the discussion on our Discord, tweet to us at Album Concept Pod, or for everything else, go to Linktree/Flyover State Park. See you on Side B. This is Flyover State Park. You are clear to land.